Hi, the time for case building is over. We can start the novice grand final, but before that, quick roll call. Affirmative, negative, and all the panelists. Binus, UI.
Here, complete.
Okay, Binus complete. UI.
We're here.
Oke, Kak Dio,
Here.
Kak Angga,
I'm here.
oke, Kak Ica,
Here.
Kak Ariel,
Here.
Caca,
Here.
oke, Kak Jess,
Here.
Jody,
Here.
Kiel.
Here.
Okay, all panels are complete. We can start the debate, but before that, before we start the debate, I want to introduce all the panelists and also the chair for this round in Novice Grand Final of IVED 2024. Next slide, please. Okay, welcome to the Novice Grand Final round. I will start to introduce the panels from alphabetical order. In first panel, we have Kak Dio, unaffiliated champion of INT Cup 2024, first runner-up of Ganesha Open 2024, second runner-up Pro Ams 2024. He's also CA of Novet 2021, CAP of English Parade 2023, invited and breaking a judge of IVED 2021 until 2024. Next, we have Kak Angga Djovanka from Poltek WBI, 7 Best Speaker and Semi-Final Creation 2.0 2023, Grand Final Novice and UDC 2019, Semi-Final Novice and UDC 2018. He's also the CAP of Intertext Pre-ABP ABP 2023, EFL Grand Final Judge and 6 Best Judge Korea Rookie International 2022, and also quarterfinal Harvard College World School Invitational 2022. Next, we have Kak Anisya Alistasya from Universitas Mataram. She's Open Champion of NUDC 2021, 10 Open Best Speaker IMT Debate Open 2023, 10 Breaking Team EFL category ABP 2021, also CAP NUDC Regional 4 Qualifiers 2023, Tim Juri Inti KDMI Wilayah 4 2023, Invited Adjudicator NSDC 2022 and 2023. Next, we have Kak Beauty Ariel Ben from Universitas Katolik Atmajaya Jakarta, CAP of Ganesha Open 2023, Atma Open 2023, and ALSA UI 2023, Breaking Judge UADC 2023, Overall Third Best Judge IVED 2023, EFL Champion, Grand Final Best Speaker, Third Best Speaker Australasians 2022, EFL Semifinalist WDC 2022, and 4th EFL Best Speaker and Open Pre-Quarter Finalist of ABP 2022. Next, we have Hilya Khalisha from Undip. She is Grand Finalist and 4th Best Speaker NUDC 2022, first runner-up ALSA UI 2022, and 5th Best Speaker ALSA 2022, champion of AUI 2021, second runner-up and top 10 Best Speaker of AEO 2022, Cap of ALSA UI 2023, ACC UGM 2022, ALSA Undip 2022, Breaking Judge Malaysia International WSDC 2023, and Best In-Depth Ganesha Open 2021, and Argumentum ASEAN 2020. Next, we have Jody from Telkom. He's Open Quarter Finalist of KDMI 2023, Grand Finalist of UCDC 2023, Grand Finalist of IDN Pra KDMI 2023, Grand Final Judge of Ecom 2023, High School Grand Final Judge of PUBDC 2024, and Semi-Final Judge of NDCC 2022. Next, we have Kak Jessica, represent CAP from IVED 2024, from USU, invited adjudicator in BPTA events, NUDC 2022, 2020 enter 2022, KDMI 2023, and NSDC 2023, CAP in national competition, Argumentum ASEAN 2024, IT Cup Series 1 2024, USU Open 2022, and many more. Also champion in INT Debate Open, Love Cup, and ARI 2023. We have also Yeskiel Moranello from Universitas Pajajaran. He's a novice champion of IVED and Novet 2023. and act as a chair in this round. Me, myself, from UGM, EFL Champion and EFL 8 Best Speaker Malaysia ABP 2023, EFL Grand Finalist Belgrade WDC 2022, Open Champion and Co-Grand Final Best Speaker Novet 2021, Invited Breaking and Novice Grand Final Judge of IVED 2021 and 2022, Breaking and Best In-Depth JDF Open 2023, Invited Breaking and Varsity Grand Final Judge Alsa Icom UI 2023. Yeah, that's all the lineup of the panel in Novice Grand Final. Congratulations both Binus and also UI for making it this far. Under the motion, this will support the humanization of religious icon in popular media. To open the case of affirmative, I call Prime Minister offered affirmative from Binus B. Here.
Okay. So I'm gonna mention some religion attributes. So yeah, clarify that. Okay, let me set up one timer. Okay. I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Mark 3:1 in Christian, they say that, then he looked angrily around at them, grieved to find them so obstinate, and said to the man, stretch out your hand. Since the first place, the religion, especially in Christian, has trying to humanize the characterization of the icon, which is Jesus, in the first place. Some set up in here. We think that the humanization that we're talking about is like we want to make this religious icon to be like just like a human, but there's still a God. For example, if they have emotion, they're like sad and happy. Apostles can feel sad, saints can feel happy, or maybe Jesus can feel angry too when he saw human being so cruel and etc. This means that this actor or this religion, I can also have lives. For example, Jesus has family, Jesus has Mother Mary, and they can do wrong and right thing too. And other religious icons like apostles, prophets, saints can also do the same thing too. We think that the three actors that we talk about in this debate is the religion, the follower, and also the popular media. But let's say the interest of the religion. The religion, of course, the interest is that they want to get more followers every day and etc. In status quo, let's not talk about the popular media. In status quo, the popular media is trying to get more attention from the viewer in any way, and one of it is to include the religious topic in one of the show. But the interest of the popular media is to gain more viewers, right? So we're going to explain to you that in our side we can benefit the popular media better. Also, the religion better when they want to get more followers. Also, in the status quo for religious icons, they are painted as perfect people, pure and clean of sins, cannot make mistakes. What is our burden in our side of the house? We're going to prove to you that humanization of religious icons will bring more benefit for us. But our mechanism is like simple like this. We will support humanization of religious icons in the popular media, but what will humanization will look like in the popular media? It will like this. Give them these human traits. For example, like in TV shows, they show they are not all perfect, as in they can get angry, get disappointed, but in the end of the day, they're still able to be kind and forgive these people. What this means, they have human traits, and they let those human traits show at a time and normalize those negative human traits. But then instead of letting those negative human traits become a negative impact, you learn to subdue those emotions, release those emotions in a way that isn't harmful. They, which is the religious icons, won't hide their negative emotions and paint themselves as if you're purely perfect. But they are also able to feel these things, but they choose to the way is encouraged by their deity or God or higher being. We're not saying that they should be shown as they can make mistakes, but there is disrespectful of the religion that they choose to portray these religious icons as those who cannot sin. But those who are able to overcome their negative human traits with the goodness that comes with the faith. So, but moving on to my argument, first, we think that why is the humanization of religious icons in popular media is good? One, we think that it makes them more relatable to the people. Religious icons are role models in religion. In religion, these religious icons basically are what we aspire about, what we want to inspire about to do the good things too. But in status quo, people think that of these religious icons of gods as different being from us regular humans. But the fact that these religious icons, including apostles, prophets, saints, and historical figures, are all humans that gain the help of the God. They idolize and differentiate themselves from these religious icons. And because of that, they don't relate to the stories of the religious icons. They don't feel that the actions these religious icons do and the good deed they do is also possible as humans. People think they can't do these things. They can't do things like religious icon did. they don't feel connected or motivated to practice their beliefs and do good deeds. They don't believe or follow in these religious icons and faith in religion lesson because they feel that what end up is it's being only living in the religion itself. For example, Jesus make a wine, for example, a water to be a wine, for example. It's like a magical things. It's not related to the people. So when we humanize these religious icons and really consider and accept the fact that they are all humans anyway, that God to state they were because of God's help. So we as humans are also capable of achieving that state with enough dedication and commitment to God and help God can help us and will guide us too. Now, why is humanization and social media important? So, social media is important so that we can relate to them. One, we think that human relate and empathize better with similar people. So when our role model, for example, this religious icon are deemed perfect, so we see ourselves as different from them. So we cannot relate and feel that what they experience is similar. We can empathize that and be motivated by their stories. But secondly, we think that humanizations make you look at these religious icons in a different light. When you actually view them as a human that received God's help, you will understand that they were having a hard time too when they were making mistakes too, for example. It is normal to do so. And because you know that in the end they are all humans, when you don't humanize them, then when you hear a story about how they made mistake, then you will criticize them for making mistake and not being perfect. Instead by humanizing you, instead by humanizing, you understand how they made this mistake. You realize how they could happen to you as well, motivate you to overcome your mistakes. But secondly, we think that people will be much more understanding about the religion. The religious stories are so complicated, but when we humanize the religious icons, we really like to them and they feel the journey how much better. And therefore, the message from the Bible will be much more understood by the follower. Moreover, when we deem these religious icons as perfect, when we read their stories, we won't understand why they make bad decisions, for example, and etc. Because we think that because they are perfect, they should have perfect judgment too. They should always do the best. But when we humanize them, we realize the reason why they fail and why they do what they do, for example, and their motivations and the considerations to the action too. Make us understand how they choose each decision and how they feel about the circumstances too. But we think the truth is the get rid of the stigma. Currently, a lot of criticism and negative segment directed towards the religion look like. For example, one, following a deity that only knows that what is good or bad based on their own values. Someone that is black and white, less understandable to the people who are in religion because it's just that taking orders and rules from a higher being. And having humanist religious figures means that people can understand better why people follow these rules because it is true religious icons hardship, wrongdoings that happen, and etc. And people will view it as more. Also, we think that it will also benefit the popular media, like what I have explained to you. What popular media is want to get more viewers, right? So, but if they only explicitly post the text from the Bible or how abstract is God power that we cannot measure even, the viewers can understand that well, and they will more likely skip that TV show because it's too boring. It's not really relatable to me. It's not really something that I can do, and then I should watch this TV show. But in our sort of house, because you can humanize the religious icon, the viewers will understand more because they see this as something visible and something applicable to apply in the real world. For example, like feeding the hungry, teaching the people, caring for the widow, for example, and defending the children. This also happens yeah, happens in the religion too, right? And this is something that you can be done without power, something that you can do as a human, and this is what we want in our side of the house. Because when you can show people distinct, people will much more likely to see your show. People will much more likely put your attention to that show, and will actually benefit the popular media. So in our side of the house, where our contrafactual is that we're going to benefit the people in society to have a better understanding about the religion. I believe that some of us in this room too having a lack of that to understand like the Bible, like the abstract of the God's power, and it's really hard to understand about that. And it's totally and it's totally yeah totally likely to be happen because we think that it's too hard to understand. Also, the Bible is like too complicated. But when we humanize that, we totally can understand how it's going to work in our human world, or how it's going to work in our world too. And we're also going to benefit the popular media, like I have explained to you, because they will get much more benefit from the viewer who will much more likely watch their show because it's going to be much more applicable to their daily life. So proud to propose.
We thank first affirmative for his wonderful speech. To open the case of negative, I call first negative. Before that, a reminder, before we continue the debate, I want both affirmative and negative to send their speaking order in order for judges to fill the ballot later. Yeah, that's it. To continue the case of negative, first negative.
Test. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I am going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Religious icons are one in billions. They are icons because they are inherently different than regular humans. On our side, we reject the humanization of religious icons and we will continue to portray them as miracles, the chosen one. How does humanization of religious icon in popular media looks like in their side? A. Religious icons are ones such as Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, apostles, and the least would be ones that are already historical figures. Most likely ones that lives around the place and time of main religious figures. It looks like the friends of Prophet Muhammad, like Umar bin Khattab and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Second, humanization of religious icons look like people emphasizing how they are physically and mentally human to the point that their day-to-day basis experiences resembles ones that regular humans have. It looks like being stressed when they face minor inconvenience. It looks like having love to worldly materials similar to what humans have. The last part of that characterization is that the portrayal would happen in popular media, which looks like people sharing narratives through Twitter tweets, TikTok influencer videos, movies, memes, and other forms of media that does not only spread the narrative, but also push people to imagine the life and experience of religious icons themselves because it's an immersive event. On our side, we're going to emphasize that religious icons are such because they are blessed with miracles. They are the chosen one, whether arbitrarily or because of reasons, which implies that even if they have a physical body, it is more likely that they experience inconvenience, lusts, and everything else differently than we regular humans do. That is to say, they have more resistance to sin, they're more leaning to the virtues, they have pre-built what do you call akhlaq in Islam because they are more equipped with that by the God miracle. So the framing of the problem is here. Notice that the debate should not just talk about the accuracy because that will be messy. Rather, we should talk about the impact of the narrative to the extent that people perceive the religious icons are once similar to them, but only different because they try so hard to be in their position. Like for example, Prophet Muhammad tried being a regular human, but thrived until he got chosen to be prophet, as opposed to Prophet Muhammad is already chosen since his birth and only being exposed of the fact that he is going to be prophet in his 40 age, for example. We think that the beginning of the narrative is already unrealistic and pressuring religious people. It inflicts pressure, sense of disconnection, and cumulative harms of hostility towards the ever-changing context of the world. The metrics of the debate should not only talk about the experiences of individual, but also what religion groups and individuals desire by engaging in religion. So our side is going to cater to not only individuals, we're also going to cater to the whole group and also the religion we're very proud to propose. So what are the arguments I'm going to give? There are two parts. First, why does narrative pressure people and disconnect them from religions? And B, why does narrative make religious people unable to adjust to the ever-changing condition of the world? First argument then, why does narrative pressure people and disconnect them from religions? The framing is here. Religious icons are perceived in day-to-day life of people dependent on the basis of how their religious icons are inherently look like. It looks like, for example, in the side affirmative, they see them as human. In our side, we see them as human, but also in a way, in a different level. So they have miracle, they are inherently different. So if the characterization that comes with its implication of that is if regular religious icons are regular humans, then people would feel sense of relatability and therefore expect themselves to be able to be like them. Because the fact that they are human and they only get there because they choose to be like that means that it probably means that we as regular human can also choose to be like them to become religious icons ourselves. But be it, if religious icons are chosen figures like in our side, it means that people would see them as inherently different and therefore would not expect themselves to be like them because they don't have the pre-equipment of blessings, of miracles that these religious icons have in our side. They would only see these figures as teachers or guide because they're given such blessing from God, and that is rightfully their duties as religious icons. So the implication, because people expect themselves to be able to be like the religious figures in the affirmative side, they will put a high standard to their satisfaction as religious people. Satisfaction of being religious, satisfaction of being able to live religion in a way that is fulfilling for them. Notice that religion have a lot of details in how you should behave in every single part of your life. The fact that to mirror religious icons, you have to fulfill each of that standard means that it's dangerous because it gives you so much pressure to fulfill each of that standards that religious icons are able or capable to fulfill. Because the reason why it's dangerous or it's very pressureful because you're regular human, and regular human are very prone to sin and break down. It looks like, for example, when you face minor inconveniences, it's like for you to be mad even when you don't try to control it because it's just something that is natural, pre-built in you. You're different from religious icons that have pre-equipment of miracles that enable them to be different and enable them to have strong protection against these kinds of lust and temptations. So even when affirmative science still claims that religious icons conceal sin in their side and therefore be a good example and be more relatable, we still see that these religious icons still have this pre-built akhlaq. They are still chosen one, therefore they're more guided by the God. It means that even if they get to sin, they're only sinning in a minor way that is not even relatable to the ones or to the regular humans like me and you. Especially when the world is becoming more and more liberal, sinning is ever more tempting right now than ever. Dugam, for example, and being drunk, for example, eating something that is haram, for example, all of this becomes even more accessible than how it is in the past. It means that the pressure is even higher in their side. So people will feel wrong each time they sin, and that happens every day due to the characteristics given to you. It makes them feel stressed and make the experience of religion a stressful one. What is the impact of that? It makes that people will feel a sense of hopelessness because they cannot feel satisfied in having their religion. They always feel like they're sinning. In our that even if they realize they're sinning, at least they know that this is still forgiven because at least there are no other humans that can be better than them in a way that these religious icons can be. Therefore, they still have a sense of being able to be self-page as opposed to the high tenet that they cannot ever fulfill. Second is sense of disconnection because even when they know that these religious icons are religious icons but because they know that these are human, they feel that these religious icons are human. They feel like there should be sense of relatability, sense of connection to them because you and them are the same. You don't feel connected with other human if you don't, for example, have any similarities. Therefore, because they don't have any similarities to this religious icons, they feel disconnected. They feel more disconnected from religion. They feel like they couldn't really follow the guidances of these religious icons. The impact not only for individuals but also to religious groups are that there becomes less and less people who are attracted to religion because the high standards that is imposed, so that the members of religion is becoming less and less. Second argument then, what is narrative makes religious people unable to adjust to the ever-changing condition of the world? Two characteristics that follows. A, notice that religious icons being human only gets to experience one life, and that is very limited in terms of what they get exposed to. For example, the kind of struggle that they get to feel, the kind of temptation that they get to feel, and the societal context in which they surround themselves with. So religion, and the second part of characterization is that religion has a lot of open statements and scriptures and rules that are open for interpretation. It looks like, for example, the guidance for having a sexual orientation is not very much fixed yet in many religions, and it's up to you as humans to adjust it into your societal context and actually apply that religious guidance in your life. Given those two key characteristics, when people see that religious icons are just humans in their side, they feel a sense of relatability, and therefore they would try to take examples from religious icons. That is also strengthened from the fact that religious scriptures are not fixed in their examples. There are a lot of interpretations, and so the only way they can actually follow the best way of religious scriptures is to taking examples from these religious icons, because they're the ones who are already tangible in their how they experience their life, which means that people are likely to follow examples that are already tangible, which is the biography of religious icons. Why is this problematic? Because religious icons live in a different context, radically from many people's life context. So the impact of that is twofold. First, in a minor harm, people try to take example of religious icons and weight it to their context. For example, wanting to conduct polygamy because Prophet Muhammad also done polygamy, even though the context in which Prophet Muhammad conducted polygamy is because there are a lot of women left behind in wars, and he had to save them by marrying them. As opposed to now, women can still roam free now. They don't have to be married in order for them to be safe, which is very indifferent with that context. The second part is major harm, such as the people being hostile to what was prohibited in the past, like LGBTQ. The fact is, LGBTQ was not popular in the past, meaning that there are not much precedents of LGBTQ in the past. But because now LGBTQ is more flourishing, people should be able to accept them because they're just human. They need also to be embraced. But because the religious scriptures do not have precedence on that, people do not allow them. People be hostile to them. It's very dangerous. We are very proud to oppose. Sorry.
We thank much negative for our speech. To extend the case of affirmative, I call second affirmative.
Okay. Hello, am I audible now?
You are.
Okay. Give me a moment. My neck hurts. Let me set up my timer. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. First of all, to start with a few rebuttals. Religion's icons are perfect holy beings. What is the use of having a perfect role model if you aren't going to be motivated by the role model anyway? If the role model, religious icons in this context, are perfect, we won't see their lives or something that you could achieve. And humans have the tendency to not try things if that thing is not possible anyway. So people won't even try to be like religious icon. Yes, they may experience convenience less, and yes, they are different. Now the thing is, we can't deny that they do miracles, that they are different, and they are seen as like way more perfect than the usual human being. But our side doesn't take that fact away from these religion figures. They can't do that because first, it's just disrespectful, and you're taking the values out of those people in the first place. The thing is, they can do miracles, but they are capable of being humane. Being human doesn't mean you're just a humble human, no holy powers or miracles. It means that you have humane values. You are able to love. You are able to be angry. You are able to make mistakes. You are able to be judged and criticized for your certain actions. Also, religious icons don't just do miracles. They also have great faith as an effect on the opposition side. Regular followers will also think that having great faith is something that they can't ever do because they are a regular human being. So when religious icons are seen as perfect, they will feel like they cannot do anything that religious do. But that is not really the case. People will feel like they can also do miracles. And to rebuttal that case is that people are still rational. People know that they can't turn wine into water into wine themselves. But the thing is, what God and what religion want people to take from prophets and religion's icons in the first place is just to be as tolerant as say Nabi Muhammad, is to be as loving as Jesus, not to perform miracles. They know that they can only do those miracles to people who are gifted by God. You're following their teachings on what they do and what their actions are that are able to be followed. Performing miracles are only there and was used to bring faith to people in the first place because it's hard to believe something that doesn't have proof or evidence in the first place. That's why these prophets can do certain things. It's to give the push to people to believe in the first place and to address the open-endedness of scriptures. Very few people actually read these open-ended scriptures, religious scriptures themselves. There are people in place in religion to bring the correct context to these scriptures. They rely on people such as Ustad or the Pope to interpret and relay these messages, what these messages mean. So it isn't much of an issue. So they relay the messages like what is wrong and what is right and how this should be put into context. And then when it comes to they want to interpret it differently, and for example, they're just committing polygamy freely and not because of like saving people, that will be a problem that they will take up with God themselves. And people usually already look down upon that, and especially if like ustads are gonna look down upon that because that's not what they're here to teach. And the opposition went on around, but people will be scared about high standard and will make people scared to get into religion and less people getting into religion. That is exactly what is happening right now when religion icons are considered holy and perfect. You're not able to reach them because they are seen as someone who cannot be related to because they can't commit sin because they're that perfect. So first, onto my argument. We need to know that in the interest of religion, it's to gain followers, spread their teachings, to be understood, having a safe space to express their faith without discrimination and stigmatization, whether it is in real life or in media. They want to be seen as peaceful. Therefore, humanization of religious icons is the most effective and likely way to bring teachings to people and to reach these goals, and also to get rid of stigmatization, and also to be seen as something more peaceful, which is like what everyone wants to see. In the eyes of non-religious audience, having faith in a religion or ideals where you just have to go off the words of God, the words of prophets, and pure and quote unquote pure and perfect human beings, it's a hard thing to understand. It's a hard thing to grasp because it's a pure leap of faith. Sometimes people can't go off pure faith. They will need something they can relate to, something that they can see themselves in to be able to understand these beliefs or religions, or not, or like to understand and just being more tolerant about it. For example, other people outside of Indonesia will make fun of or like ridicule Muslims for not being able to drink alcohol or eat pork because they are under the impression of that's just a rule that doesn't make sense. You're just following what prophets and God said, when in reality there is a humane story behind it of why they cannot do both of these things. It's a humane mistakes that happen, like for example with alcohol, about someone got drunk and they did a mistake that was really awful, therefore religion bans it. An extreme extreme solution, yes, but it's more understandable that you understand that this mistake happens and they're just taking the countermeasure to not repeat these mistakes. It's way more understandable, it's way more believable, it's way more easier to empathize with than just like, oh, God told you to do that, and things like that. People can also see the religious icons as someone who can be seen as flawed by other people, which is okay because it shows that they can still be loved by God. For example, Jesus got crucifixed because the people were against his teachings. And when you make these mistakes, you still want to be able to see comfort. They will see religion as a more humane thing, that God is able still to love you despite being ridiculed, despite being discriminated, despite being criticized and judged by all of these people. Now, secondly, in the eyes of religion, the religion has two main goals. Again, as I said, to spread the religion to as many people as possible, more religious people, and to help the followers under this teaching more. The first goal is spreading religion. When we humanize religious icons and normal people without religion normal people without religion will relate to the religious icon more. More people make them more interested about the religious icons and the religion, and they will learn about religion and more converting people into religion. The second goal of helping people understand the beliefs also happen because when we humanize religious icons, we realize that they are also humans, they make mistakes, and they have bad judgments. Right now, we don't humanize religious icons. When we read about their stories about how they made mistakes, we will criticize them and deem them as a bad role model. In the end, we won't learn anything from the story. When we can humanize them, we better understand why they make their bad judgments. What is their motivation for doing this, and and really understand their whole story better. These bad judgments seen by the general audience may stem from being hurt, offended, or being offended on the behalf of God, which you can insert yourself in. Like, you can be angry and make bad decisions because simply you are hurt or you are offended for others. Say there are people defending the LGBTQ, people defending certain races. Even when you're not part of the community, you can be offended and hurt on the behalf of other people, and that's a human trait. And even though that these people are, say in the Jesus, he's offended on behalf of this father, it's still understandable and it's still humane, and this is what we want to show because it's more relatable. Also, when we view religious icons and gods as perfect beings, we don't understand their bad judgment. It makes us feel small when we compare ourselves to them. Moreover, when we view them as humans, we realize that they achieved what they did because of God's help. Because of that, we can also take a look at their lives and feel that we can do what they also did with enough dedication and motivation. So what does this look like and what does this incentive cost? People are more understanding, people are more tolerant why religious people follow certain rules, which may seem rather extreme in the eyes of people. It may look like people are making fun of reasons of why religious have certain rules on social media, because people understand why certain rules exist and why certain teachings exist. People will have it easier to follow their teachings and rules. Why? Because teachings and rules come from prophets and come from gods. Prophets, oftentimes they see people committing sins that can be prevented by religious teachings and rule. They are affected by this as well as other people. They sympathize and empathize with these people affected by it, and they are willing to help people for their own good and for the good of their own religious teachings and spreading. What this will look like for the general people and the people of religion. Religion will be easier to be understood by the general audience. It becomes relatable. Religion isn't something that is only exclusive to the people whose faith is not strong enough, which means better understanding, more tolerance. For people who are religious, this means that they are less discriminated and judged less because their reasons are now seen as believable and human rather than just an absolute divine teaching. For religion, people will become more interested because it's easier for them to understand in the first place. More willing to listen, it becomes something that is less intimidating. Therefore, it's easier for people to enter religion, which fulfills the interest of like gaining more followers and successfully spreading this teaching, as well as based off of my previous analysis, it minimizes stigma and which makes a safer place for the people. That is it from me. Thank you very much.
We thank second affirmative for her speech. To extend the case of negative, I call second negative.
Am I?
Can you speak again?
Test. Wait. Yeah, okay. Am I audible? I'm using my friend's device.
You're audible.
Okay. Wait. Jadi, how do you nyangkutin? Oh, masukin sini sih.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible and you can start your speech.
Okay, going to start in 3, 2, 1. We think that the humanization will be more portrayed that they are not perfect, that they have like human traits like emotion in their side of the house. We think that one, in status quo, Jesus was already seen that he could be angry, for example, in the temple of Jerusalem, or when like Muhammad was angry when his followers are disobedient. We think that status quo are already portrayed that eventually it is the value of maybe like forgiving or the value of understanding and others that people can actually take, and the mistakes of like their religious icon is already there. We see that, for example, Adam and Eve was already being portrayed as sinful, and they could eventually get better. That there was never a burden for people to be perfect in the first place, and but we think it's just that the burden of the people is just to think that they need to understand and to follow the religion. And they also said that they want these religion icons to be more relatable because the status quo, they have like miracles and they don't feel connected. One, we don't need that relatability to feel the same that much from religion, because in the very first place, religion was exactly beyond human logic, right? Where there is a God, there is a heaven, there's a hell, and the fact that we worship them in the very first place is already full of trust and the meaning of uh, our life. What we seek in religion are, for example, like salvation, the search of meaning of life, and this cannot happen like when you are like, for example, constantly comparing yourself to your prophet, because the media portrays all his humanization, and he feels like and you feel like there is a sense of like relatability. Example given, Muhammad always prioritize his sunnah prayer rather than, for example, his physical health. His emotional way of thinking is for the long term, for the people of their followers to get to heaven, for example. The thing is, this is not very applicable in nowadays. For example, people would definitely feel contradicting on focusing their worldly tasks. They will think that they need to understand to they need to be as close as Muhammad, for example, and like disregard not less prioritize their worldly burdens. For example, you need to go to education, you need to study hard in university, where you don't have time to actually do those types of sunnah prayers, for example. If you take that logic, people would definitely be less rational than the status quo and lean more to religion and worship more. But the end of the goal of that is that people, when they fail, they would feel like, why do I follow the same steps of, for example, Muhammad or Jesus, but I didn't get the same of like, for example, good things that they get, for example. And we are not like having the same characteristic of them, of like, for example, we can process like, oh, God likes me or not, but we have like more not stable emotions, and we will definitely feel like, oh, maybe God doesn't love me, and those kind of stuff. The information of religion needs to come from a being that is not like inherently a human being to the core, because definitely the religion itself would came from a higher being that is not human. We think that when their mechanism wants to be like the examples are like come from like a same human being, it will definitely make more, in the end of the day, harder for you to actually accept that, because you have like more worldly temptation than in those times. Now, going to my more rebuttals, like they feel like how the people are not related, and they would feel demotivating when they don't want and they don't want to achieve that in the first place. When they make a mistake, in the side they want to feel to be like related to human emotions. We think that people inherently won't be that demotivated to not being religious, because we could see that most people seek God when they don't have anyone to help them. Like, for example, when your life is getting worse, you fail your academics, your love life, etc., you will definitely seek God in the end of the day. And we think that in that stance alone, like people in the status quo are already that rational and already that love to their religion, and it's not something that needs to be contributed more, and it's like been clarified. And lastly, when they're like talking about like how it will definitely get more follower or media, we think that people
going to like discourse in media doesn't mean definitely the religion will get more into followers. We think that this debate is also not talking about which side could get more followers, but rather like people are searching the meaning of life, etc., and how it will be more suitable for them. Like even if we're talking about followers, we think that they won't get like real followers when they opt in, because they will definitely see that when they actually study it and they actually do it, they will find that not everything could be logical and be implemented into their lives, like their thought process of, for example, of Jesus, of Muhammad, to their daily life, because it's very different. But in our side of the house, what we want is like the value of this being to be actually do that. Now going to my extension, how media portrayal affects individuals through thoughts of salvation. Now, points of characterization. Media is massively in its influence. 24/7 people are on social media exposing themselves to the kinds of content, especially ones that are very popular. What kind of contents gets to be published in media? They are the ones that are quite shallow. Why? Because popular media relies on the dopamine dose and short attention span of its enjoyers. It is different from the actual like speeches or like religious study, because people actually scrutinize the teachings there, because of the characterization, the kind of narrative that looks like in popular media will be one, the miracle stories of prophet, because they are fascinating. Two, the set of emotional invoking experiences of religious icons. Notice that the way that these religions icons are portrayed have to emphasize on their great characters that is already very unrealistic to be applied in regular humans. But even if these religious icons are portrayed to be like so much a relatable way, it is likely that the context of their life is very different. And even if it's similar, it will not be like that all in the situation, because of the characterization already given in the first page of our LO. Like now, in the sense of salvation, people can feel like the sense of salvation if they are able to do their best as a human in each of their individual conditions and traits. In our side, because people only take the scriptures and guidance, and given that we open more room for interpretation, we have more flexibility to make people live their life and feel like they have done their best. For example, hence having like more sense of salvation in the end of the day. On the affirmative side, people continue to be exposed of the narrative that, oh, the best way a human can be is through the way of religious icons, for example. Like, which means that however much they do in their life, they are unable to reach that type of standards. Therefore, sense of salvation is not lesser in the individual in the side of the house. This connects to the hopelessness that my first speaker talks about. We think that even without like worldly temptation, when you get older, you go to like more like to churches or more to like to masjid. In the end of the day, there are like some not capable of our physical things that could be implemented how with their human traits on interactions from the past. Now, affirmative side wants to claim that people are going to be rational to know that they are the standards they cannot achieve, like Jesus making wine from water. But notice that A, their difference do not only talks about tangible miracles, but also their life experience. B, affirmative side also concede that the people are going to scrutinize the mistakes of religious icons. But we already preempted this, because the mistakes of that religious icons are not even the same as the standards as regular human nowadays. It looks like, for example, Prophet Muhammad being scolded by Allah because he does not pay attention to a blind woman, even though he is already busy at the moment. Compare this mistake that human makes of adultery, eating like, for example, haram foods, slandering their friends, etc., are very lower from that standard. So in the end of the day, we think that in the end of the day, the delta is like how people will definitely get this salvation is only in our side of the house better, because like there are also people that maybe live in different areas that also have like different behaviors. We're talking about maybe Jesus from Bethlehem, Muhammad from Mecca, but there are like more minority people that doesn't like have that relatability, like from maybe Africa or something, and they have like the social pressure to like work, and they won't be feeling connected because it feels like their burden are very big and they need to have like things to do, and we are proud to oppose.
We thank second negative for his speech. To close the substantive speaker of affirmative, I call third affirmative.
Am I audible?
You are.
Okay. Just let me set up my timer real quick. So, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, to start off my speech, I would like to give a few rebuttals towards the opposition team. So first of all, the opposition team was saying that religious icons are perfect holy beings. But what is therefore you don't need it's okay for them to not be humanized. But what is the use of having a perfect role model? These religious icons in religion serve the role of being the role models for the followers. They are the figure that these followers are going to achieve, that they want to achieve. So what is the use of having a perfect role model, a holy role model, if you're not going to be motivated by the role model anyway? If the role model, in this case, the religious icons are perfect, we won't see their lives as something that you could achieve. And humans have the tendency to not try things if they think that it's not possible anyway. So in the end, when we have these religious icons as the perfect role model that are not humanized, then people won't even try to be like the religious icons. They won't even try to change their life to be similar to these religious icons. So in the end, the benefit of being in a religion will not happen anyway, and the teachings of the religion will not be given towards the followers. And then the second thing is that the opposition team was saying that people will feel like they can do miracles. But again, like this, my second speaker have said, religious people are still rational. People, humans know what they can and they cannot do. People know that they cannot turn water into wine. They know that that is only possible in the Bible, that is only possible in the Al-Quran, because the God is, and because our God is permitting these people to do it. But the thing is that what God wants is that religions want people to take from prophets and religious icons in the first place is to be just as tolerant as Muhammad, to be as patient as Abraham, to be as loving as Jesus. That's what the religions themselves want people to learn about these religious icons. So they're not endorsing that through this religious icon being humanized, that you can also do miracles, because people know that they cannot do it, and that is not what the religion wants anyway. And then the opposition went on a rant about people will be scared about high standard, and they will make people scared to get into religions, and less people will get into religions. That this is exactly what is happening right now, but religious icons are considered holy and perfect. Because they're considered holy and perfect, people will feel like the standard that are set by these religious icons are not achievable, and they will feel like the standard is too high, and they will get scared to get into religions, and less people will be getting into religions. And then the opposition team says that it is bad that people have different interpretation of the religion, like Nabi Muhammad doing polygamy. But it is wrong. People having different interpretation of religion is important and beneficial. Why? Because our Bible, our Quran, doesn't describe everything that is right and wrong, especially in the current condition of the modern era. So, and what are the conditions that make this right or wrong? It isn't explained in our Bible and our Quran. So through interpretation, people are going to be able to apply the teachings in religions to their own life. Our Quran Bible doesn't describe our life right now about the situation of work, modernization. So the only way we can apply these religious values now is through interpretation. Without it, our Quran and the Bible are just outdated legends that don't relate to our lives. So interpretation are important, and like the opposition said, and so the benefit of interpretation will not happen on the opposition side. And then also the example that the first opposition said about Nabi Muhammad doing polygamy under certain circumstances, then when we see Nabi Muhammad as the perfect and as a God, then the normal followers that are under the same conditions, the normal followers that are also in war and see many women alone without a husband, they won't dare to take these women as wife and help their life, because they see that the action of this Nabi Muhammad as something only he can do, because he is perfect and God, and we as humans are not. So in the end, the original teachings and the original good deeds that will happen through religions will not happen, because we think that it's the good deeds that these religious icons do is something that only they can do because they are perfect. And then the opposition team said that there is never a burden for people to be perfect in the first place. Well, what is the use of religious icons? I want to remind you again that these religious icons are the role models for the followers in their religions. They are the figures that you can learn from, that you aspire to be. So when we as humans have role models that are perfect, then we're going to think that the end goal for you is to be perfect as well as the followers. Then the opposition's team is also clearly saying that things that Muhammad do not that the things that Nabi Muhammad do are not relatable and important in real life right now. This is exactly what's happening, because people see Nabi Muhammad as the perfect role model. They will think they will also need to do all the things that Nabi Muhammad do, and is prioritizing spiritual health over anything else. Moreover, this harm is amplified even more on opposition side, because on opposition side, they doesn't allow people to interpret religious stories on their own. So people won't realize that these goals that Nabi Muhammad that the things that Nabi Muhammad are doing through prioritizing his spiritual health of everything are not obtainable and not applicable in their current life. And the opposition step is also saying that not everything is applicable to real life, so relatability is not important, but everything is applicable. So relatability is important. For example, the teachings in Bible about David cheating. Through this story, regular people can apply it in real life so that they don't cheat. They know about the harm of cheating. And then another story about Peter's lying about being Jesus' disciples. We can apply it in real life to not lie about things and to not reject your identity just because you're afraid of the consequences. And then to move on to my arguments. So first of all, the benefit on our side for the government team is that, first of all, it would help the religion gain more followers, because the people relate to the religious icons more, so they can see themselves in the lives of these religious icons. It will make them understand that being a follower is not solely based on unobtainable perfect faith, but it is also obtainable through growth, through aspiring to be to do the things that these religious icons that are also humans do. So it sends them the signal that it is also obtainable for you as a human to do. And it also makes religion not as sacred, and make people in general are more willing to get into religions. So, and why are people scared to get into religions in the first place without humanization? Because first, people feel like the religious icons are the standard that you should achieve, and the standards are too high. So people feel like they won't achieve that perfect standard, even though they've tried so hard, and it will make them scared because they might disappoint or not achieve the perfection. So therefore, they are scared to join the religions. And it also, on our side, it also makes religions more relatable. Again, it makes us sympathize with them and motivate the pre-existing followers to improve themselves and be more like them. And it will also benefit the popular media. On our side, we will explain to you that our mechanism will benefit the popular media by helping them gain more viewers, and this will likely happen because people now feel more relatable to the shows, and they won't see the show as boring. On the other side, the opposition's main argument about people feeling like they can do all the things, the opposition side has the main argument, which is that people will feel like they can do all the things that the religious icons can do. And this has been taken down by us, because first we've explained that this won't happen because people are rational. They can distinguish what they're capable of doing or not. And people understand that the reasons that these people can do miracles is only because of God, because God gave these few people the ability to do so. So the regional people will understand that as humans, they cannot do miracles. Moreover, religious icons don't only do miracles, but they also have great faith, etc. So in opposition case, when the regular people feel like they can do things religious icons can do, then it would harm the followers, and they will feel like they can have great faith because they're only human, and having great faith is only capable for the perfect religious icons. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt Affirmative, for your speech. To close the substantive case of negative, I call third negative.
Check, am I audible?
You are.
Okay. Okay, am I pronounce she, her? Okay. Going to start my speech. And wait. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Panels, how this debate should actually looks like. On the affirmative side of the house, we want to they want to support the humanization of the religious icon, and then they have to prove to you how then it is they have to depiction and give the picturization how this actually will look like, and then the benefit on the popular media and something like that. And the negative side of the house, we stick to the status quo and we do not want this humanization. We already proved to you about why then it is bad, especially in terms of popular media. Why then the affirmative side of the house lose in this debate? Firstly, they never really talk to you about what's the urgency of doing this humanization religious icon. Why then it is the main interest to gain the followers, because we believe that, just like what my previous speakers already talked to you, religion itself is just a place for these people to get to know the meaning of life, to get the guidance, to know about the salvation. It's never really about the amount of people that will be joining the religion itself. They never really touch about the urgency point on that side of the house. Secondly, they're playing a very dismissive side of the house on how they keep trying to say that people are rational, and then they will never really believe and then try to be like a prophet and something like that. But we already seen, like, for example, the factual examples, and historically speaking, there are a lot of people that even if we know that there's humanization of this religious icon, there's still people that want to perceive themselves as a god, perceive themselves as a prophet. We see that the harmful aids exist under the side of the house. Two classes that I'm going to bring in. Firstly, about the justification of humanization and how it will actually look like, and also its impact on the individual, and secondly, impact on the social level. Going to my first classes about the impact on the individual. They said that how can you believe a religious icon if they're not human, if they do not have the same human trait as what the followers have. They said that this relatability can only exist under the side of the house, and then because then these people, the followers, can understand how this religious icon making the decision, and then religion can have more followers. How we respond to this? Firstly, note that religion is not about the amount of followers. Religion is also about the meaning, the guidance. My speaker already told to you, but then example for, if you want to opt into a certain religion, it's not solely rely on the religious icon, but on the religion as a whole. That means that relatability that people seek from religion is not whether the religious icon have the relatable human traits, but how the meaningful, the guidance or the salvation from God will be suitable for these people. Note that also every people have a different behavior, have different human traits. That means that surely in general things like hungry, thirsty, something like that, people can still have a same human traits. But on other level, or how the people will make a decision, how they will continue in their life and something like that will be very much different. The way the Nabi Muhammad telling their information, preaching the information on Islam and something like that would be very different compared to other prophets. Like maybe, for example, there are prophets that are preaching directly to the point that they were getting hate and then fight other people and something like that. But there are other prophets that are using more peaceful way and something like that, preaching in a silently. That also taught to you that there's a different and human test even within this within this prophet. What does that imply? It means that the relatability will not really exist and will not effectively exist on the other side of the house, even if, yes, sure, they try to maybe like create a relatability. We believe that it can only cater to these to the like maybe the majority of people. It can only cater to the people that already knows about this religion, and it will not have any delta on the other people, especially in the gray area. Even if yes, then we question about will this be enough for them about the way that they want to increase the followers and something like that. Secondly, they say that people are rational and that they won't be blindly try to be the prophet and something like that. Panels note that even if yes, human have traits like human something like that, but even if the prophet, these religious icons, they are affected by the religious icons background. Like for example, my previous speaker already talked to you about the mujiza, the miracle, something like that, that will affect the way they act in a certain way. That means that is what we're emphasizing. That even if yes, you can be kind, you can be patient and something like that, but you cannot really be on the same level with these religious people. But the moment that you try to portray it in the popular media, that means that you try to talk to you and you try to show to all of the people, to the popular media's viewers, that these people, these religious icons are just human, that you can just be like themselves. It is very easy for you to be like them, because then you can just do a good things and something like that. It is something that that won't be happen on the side of the house. Thirdly, why even if yes, there are outside of the house, then why it is still not work? Relatability itself can still exist on the outside of the house. They say that you can get a role model, like a perfect role model, and you can get motivated. We say to you that it is not exclusive as well, because on the outside of the house, the history, the story, even if it is including the miracle, even if we know that is God or maybe something like that, people can still get motivation from this. Also because motivation also come from the salvation, that they want to get into heaven. That's why they do the good deed. Even if they know that they will never be on the same level with Nabi Muhammad, they can still do good deed, they can still do salah and something like that, because they want to get into heaven and something like that. Also note that there are other things that cannot be explained in a human way. Sure, drinking alcohol, maybe eating pork and something like that can be something that can be explained in a human way. But the things like a reward, virtue point, pahala, sins, and something like that, that is very crucial in the religion, is something that cannot be explained, cannot be grasped by human nature and something like that. That's why the things, for example, like why the Nabi Muhammad giving the examples of only men can be like the imam of the salah. Those things are obliged by the God, written on the scriptbook, but those things cannot be explained by the human nature. What will happen if you try to humanize this thing, especially in the social and the popular media? You try to find a way, a lot of reasons to prove to you that this can actually something that is acceptable for these people. It can create a backlash and a dispute inside the religion community. There will be a lot of different information in the Al-Quran and in the interpretation of people. Then these people will be confused whether they want to believe in it, whether they want to rely to which side of the house. That's why that it will actually fail to achieve or to attract a lot of people. Going to my second about then how it will affect at the social level. Firstly, there was never been an explanation how the rationality would look like under the side of the house, the full extent of the human characteristics of the prophet. The other outside of the house already talks about the process of thinking people if they want to have their way of thinking, and it's proven to be hard to do in status quo. If they don't do the sunnah, like Muhammad, they would feel less safe to go to heaven and something like that. This would contradict with their belief and rationality to what things that need to be prioritized. We never had this step-by-step of what thinking from the government, and now some people are going to be more rational because followers would only take the value of the supernatural being the prophet. Also, on the different interpretation important. Yes, people can have different interpretation. Everyone have the agency for that. But the thing with this is that if this interpretation reducing the value of the religion, that will lead to the misinterpretation, that we don't think that it is a benefit that the government can claim. Sure, even on the side of the house, they can still misinterpret it here. But we believe that we do not have to worsening this with the humanization in popular media, as it will only confuse people in the gray area, and it can also create problem within the religious community itself. Let us concede to the goals want to be achieved by the affirmative side. They talk to you about three things: motivation, awareness of the harms of sins, and guidance through life. Going to the first thing about the motivation. Our motivation comes from people having to get salvation to be fulfilled by religious practices they engage in, compared to the side of the house, that even if they have a relatable icon, but because the standard put by that icon is too high, because they're in the like a background they're having, or they're getting a miracle coming from that, it's actually going to discourage them from being motivated and pursue religious teachings, because they know that the background itself is very different. We know that they're coming from a different race coming from them, different backgrounds coming from them, different story. That will be that way. Motivation coming from solely an individual will not exist, will not sustain under the side of that. Secondly, about the awareness of the harm, I don't think this is exclusive. If, for example, it teaches that the reason why one is prohibited is because it removes sanity or something like that. Notice that there are not many interpretation of that reasoning as the context for prohibiting that sin as religious icons life is not as aspiring as regular people. Going to the guidance through life. Our guidance in life comes in two ways: knowledge itself, and then how then we will do good this. Because we already proved to you how the under the house the individuals can be and the social can be created. We're proud to oppose.
We thank that's negative for your speech. To conclude the case of negative, I call negative reply.
Sorry. Let me set my timer first. Okay. So I'm going to, before that, am I audible?
You are.
Okay, I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think there are two main clashes happening in this debate. First, about how religious icons should be. Should they be perceived as role models, and or whatever they should be perceived. And B, how is essence of religion is more emphasized through this narrative. Okay, we're going to talk about the first clash. So the side affirmative wants to claim that because religious icons are now portrayed as human, they become more relatable to the point that they are now able to be seen as role model. The reason why role model then is important is because it helps people to religious people to be motivated because they feel like they can be like these religious icons, and B, they can take good examples because they have role models to be taken example from. The reason why this is, I think the metric to measure whether or not they are successful in reaching that purpose or that goal is on two folds. First, and how this role model actually motivate people, and B, how it actually gives people the right kind of guidance that they need in their life. First, talking about motivation, I don't think it motivates people in their side, because in order for something to be motivating, in order for a role model to be motivating by having seen of him, you have to know, you have to at least have the awareness or like the sense that you can be like them, you can be like him. The reason why people have role models of, for example, their brothers or people surrounding them, because they know that it's achievable for them to be like these role models that they have. But this is not existing in their side, because the role models that they want to put are the religious icons who are blessed, who are in the different level of human, meaning that motivation can never be achieved in their side. Second, talking about guidances, they said that the religious icons can be a form of examples. I don't think that can be true, because we have given you in the very first speech that there are a lot of precedents that happens within the life of these religious icons are not in lining with the context that we have in the current status quo. For example, like polygamy and how it's not applicable now, or for example, how LGBTQ was not accepted but now it can be accepted. These are the kind of examples that they cannot be achieved, they cannot take in their side, because they are so narrow in the way that they can achieve example. In our side, comparative, we can achieve more motivation because we actually tell people that they do not have to fulfill the standards of these religious icons. They can just be their best in the way that they can, and this way they can feel more hopeful. They can feel like they have sense of salvation in the way that they can be more motivated. Second, talking about guidances, I think in our side it is more richer in terms of what kind of guidance we can give, because not only do we have fixed traditions that exist in the scriptures, we also have the general guidance already. But the reason why it is more rich in our side, because we open interpretations as opposed to their side that only gives interpretation in one way, which is the linear way of the religious icons. We open interpretation for different contexts, for example, LGBTQ, polygamy, and etc. We think we win because we give more people more ability to be more relatable. To have more guidance that actually fulfills the condition that they need to actually make them feel morally good, as opposed to follow the norm that was outdated already in the past life. The second clash, then, talking about the essence of religion. So the thing that the side affirmative wants to champion here is that because people see that the sins, for example, that is conducted by the religious icons are done by a human, it means that they can now understand that these sins are actually bad because of these human conditions. The reason why this is not very much significant in their side is A, because the life of this because the sins that the religious icons conducted in their life is already very minimal, to the point that it's very much very small percentage that you can take hikmah, for example, from that kind of from the sins that they do, because there are not a lot of sins they do. But also, even if that is true, right? I don't. It also is very limited, because the way they conduct sin, is very linear in a way that is very rigid and not very applicable to other contexts. For example, if they don't murder, it's different with our condition. For example, if you don't murder, when for example, we got death threats in which really requires us to murder. These are different contexts in which you cannot really equalize the kind of sin and the reason why you should not sin in that kind of condition. But the last point is that it's not even exclusive, because in our set you can still teach people. This is why, for example, Islam teaches people that white is prohibited because it makes people unaware. The last point is that we give people sense of salvation, as opposed to their side that gives more people pressure. We give sense of salvation, which means people are more invested in religion because they know feel motivated to do their best, as opposed in their side people get pressured, and more they feel disconnected from religion. They don't feel anymore desire to be in the religion. Very proud to propose.
We thank Negative Reply for his speech. To close the entire debate, I call Affirmative Reply.
I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panelists, let me clear your mind about what is happening in this debate. From our side, Ours have come to you, proven to you that the humanization of religious icon in the popular media will make the followers or non-followers more relatable. They will feel like more relatable to the story of the relatable to the verses of the Bible. They will feel like, oh, it's something that I can do, it's something that I can apply to in the reality. We also have proven to you that people will be much more understanding about the religion with the analysis that we have explained to you too. We also have proven to you that the mechanism could get rid of the stigma that we've explained to you too. Also, we've proven to you that our mechanism will benefit the popular media too. We strongly characterize that people will not follow the crazy standards held up by the religious icons. Because one, this is the rationality, and the rationality that like no miracles here because of the nature and the function of the miracles, and B, the humanization allows them to keep their teachings grounded and relatable, not using the crazy standard itself. But also shows how the general audience is able to tolerate the portrayal of religion and religious icons better when we humanize them, as well as how it will how it benefits to actors. One is general audience, how people are more willing to tolerate by relatability, something that is more grounded, easier to grasp. And second is the religious people and the interest of religion as a whole, which is the less discrimination towards religious people practicing their rules and other practices. And we believe that religion should not be gatekept by intimidation exclusivity factor and how that can only be reached in our second house. But let's see what is coming from this second house. The opposition only has one main argument, which is that people will feel like they can do everything the religious icons can do. But we've taken this down multiple times by our second and third speaker. One, we said that regular people will feel like they can do the things religious icons can do is a good thing. It will motivate them that they can also do good things. They can also help others and they can also have great faith. If you realize that even their second speaker explained to you that humans are rational. Now, if they are that rational, they won't think that the people can do miracles. They know that these religious icons can do miracles because God is with them. God helped them, not because their own capability when they are essentially just humans with God's help. They can achieve all these things. They can achieve all these things. The kindness all because of God's help. We've explained to you in our arguments. But oppositions only caters to religious people and not how the show will be more tolerated by the general audience in the first place, and how it benefits religion and how it suits suits their interests. Which they don't really explain what religion wants other than correct contextual teachings. But moving on, opposition was saying that we obviously coming with that we didn't give how humanization will benefit the faith of a follower, but we have explained to you multiple times. We've explained to you how humanization will help people understand the religious stories more and make them understand the teaching better. Now, also the examples that the opposition gives can also be applied as a benefit on our side. For example, the example they gave Muhammad not giving enough attention to blind women, that is the same as real life people now, and it is also beneficial on our side because through interpretation and knowing that Nabi Muhammad is also human, you also realize that you might do the same mistake and not giving enough care about the minorities because of other things. So the example the opposition gave it will help people on our side and have been flipped to our benefit case. The opposition also is trying to flip our argument to saying that our icon is only a role model on our side. But the truth is, even on opposition side, religious icons are also the role model. There are the people who we desire to be like. When you ask a Muslim, who do they want to be like? They will answer Nabi Muhammad, for example. When you ask Christian, who do you want to be like? They will answer Jesus Christ, for example. This shows that that on both gov and opposition side, religious icons are already role models. So it is also a role model on opposition side. The opposition side say that when their role models are perfect, we won't be motivated, and they will not they will not to do it. It is exactly what is happening in the opposition side because people see religious icons as perfect and achievable. Regular followers won't try to become better to become like the religious icons. So no benefit you can get from them, but we've explained to you so many benefits that we can get in our side of the house, including the actors that we've explained to you. So proud to propose we win.
We thank affirmative reply for his speech. It marks the end of the debate. Since this is a silent round, you can attend the closing ceremony later. Thank you, everyone. For all the judges, we can move to ruang 8 probably for the deliberation. Thank you all. Good luck.